Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Moji, and on my channel I basically make college, lifestyle, and opinion videos. So for today's video, I just decided to talk a bit about a subject that has been annoying me for quite some time now, and the subject is basically being called a white girl or being called whitewashed. So I just wanted to talk about this subject because I feel like it's something that affects a lot of young black women or just black women in general, and I kind of want to discuss why it annoys me and why it probably annoys other black girls. So yeah, let's just get into this because it's just something that has been pissing me off for quite some time now, because it's something that has been happening a lot recently and I just wanted to talk about it. So let's get into the video. So guys, if I'm looking down a lot, it's because I have my notes in my notebook here, so I'm just gonna go point by point and basically just discuss why it's a problem and why it's affecting me and just a bit about the subject. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is basically what constitutes being called a white girl, or what are the attributes or the traits that a black girl would have that would make someone call her a white girl. So the first thing is basically your interest. That's something that basically affects me. So I might not necessarily be interested in things that other black girls are interested in, and that warrants me being called a white girl, because I might be interested in subjects that or just activities that other white girls are into. Secondly, the way you talk, that's another thing that because some of the words that I may use are big words that not a lot of people may use, that aren't really common words. That's something that can warrant me being called a white girl. So the way you talk is definitely something that may affect you being called whitewashed. If you don't talk in Ebonics, or if you don't talk ghetto, which is not really a thing, that basically warrants you being called a white girl. So definitely the way you talk is something that really affects if you're going to be, oh my god, I'm almost choking, if you're going to be called a white girl. The third thing is obviously the way you dress. So if you don't dress like other black girls, or if you don't talk like other black girls, you're automatically excluded and you're automatically going to be called a white girl. If you wear a weave, or if you like wigs, that's something, that's definitely something. So if you don't really wear your natural hair all the time and you prefer wigs, and you prefer mostly wigs, because I feel like braids is something that a lot of black girls wear, but if you are into wigs, because that's something that has happened to me before, because when I wear wigs I'm trying to be white, which is not the case at all. I just like wigs. I like the way I look with wigs, I like the way I look with braids, and I like the way I look with my natural hair, which I'm wearing today for this video. So I don't see how you wearing a wig or you wearing a weave can really affect the way that you should be treated by your own people, but that's definitely something that is to be taken into consideration when you're being called a white girl. Or anyways, the next thing is the way you think. So if you think differently from other black girls, or if you think differently from other black people, then that's definitely something that's going to be that's going to warrant you being called a white girl. For example, I've talked about this on my channel before, but basically black conservatism. I'm still going to be talking about that a lot on my channel, but it's just something that really interests me, because I feel like it's interesting to see the difference of opinions that are currently being had in African American communities in the United States. So I just feel like that's really interesting to talk about. So I'm definitely going to talk a lot about black conservatism, but I made a video a couple of months ago just talking about Candace Owens and the conservative movement, and I got a couple of hate comments on that video as well, because obviously if you're black and you are kind of aligned with the conservative movement, or if you just kind of believe in certain things that conservatives believe in, then that's something that is going to be that's something that's going to affect the way that you're looked at by other black people. So definitely the way you think is something that definitely is going to be constituted of you being called a white person. Your level of education, that's another thing. I just feel like that's kind of stupid. I feel like everyone should strive to have the highest level of education that they want, if that's what they want with their lives. For example, I definitely want to go to university after college, so that's something that's probably going to affect the way that people are going to treat me within my own community. Even if you go to university, or if you go to a higher level of education, people are going to see you differently and are going to call you a white person because you have a higher level of education. Or even the high school that I went to, was a a private all-girls school, and people new people that I met in college, they thought I was going to be a certain way because I went to that school. So there's definitely going to be assumptions that are going to be made about your own character before you can even show the way that you really are because of the environment that you were in. So that's something that definitely is going to affect the way that people see you and the way that people see me. And the people that you hang out with, that's my last characteristics for what constitutes being a white girl. So the people that you hang out with, so if you hang out with mostly white people, then you're automatically gonna be labeled a whitewashed black person, which makes no sense. Maybe you just fit in better with them, or maybe you just enjoy the things. It's like, I don't feel like you should look at an individual and just assume that because they're hanging out with other white people, then they're trying to be white. Maybe the subjects that person, or maybe the interests that group of people has interest that black person, you know? Like, it's not necessarily you're trying to be white. Making friends is all about interest. Sometimes you can be interested in something that someone else has to say, or the interest that someone else has more than an interest of another group. So that's definitely what constitutes being a whitewashed black girl. The second thing that I want to talk about is what it means to be black in itself. Basically, when I get called a white girl or whatever, there's obviously an ideal that people have, or like this misconception that people have about the way that you should be if you are black. So there's an ideal black person, and there's an ideal black girl, and there's an ideal of how a black girl should act and a black girl should be if you are black. So that's definitely something that needs to change. So we need to change what it means to be black in itself. We can't just assume that someone is going to be a certain way because they belong to a group. You need to look at people as individuals, and that's something that definitely affects the way that people look at me and are going to look at other girls that may act the way that I act. So that's that. So yeah, there's an ideal of blackness, and that just needs to be eradicated. That needs to stop. There shouldn't be an ideal for anything. You should judge an individual based on their character, not based on the group that they belong to. So who says this? As I've said, I've gotten this a lot. That's why I'm talking about it in my video. But sometimes people can say it in a joking manner, and for me, I don't take it as a joke because I feel like people do it a lot. So when it is in a joking tone, I don't find that it's funny because people have said it in serious circumstances, and I don't think that that's something that I want to be labeled as. So basically, who says it? Mostly other black people, other black girls, or sometimes I've gotten it from someone that isn't even black. Mostly from other black girls or from other black people that are judging you, and they don't think that you belong, and they're labeling you as a white person or as a whitewashed black person, because they might not necessarily be interested in the same things that you are interested in, and then they're just gonna label you that. So why people say it, this is what I gathered, and this is what I think, but you might have a different opinion. But basically what I think why people say this is because to make you feel bad about yourself, because maybe they're not interested in the same things as you, and they might not understand the things that you might understand, and they just want to make you feel bad about yourself. Because definitely saying that you're like a white person if you're black, that's definitely something that's really insulting, because it's like it makes you feel rejected by your own group of people. It makes you feel rejected by your own people, so it's definitely insulting. So if you're going to call someone whitewashed, I think you should rethink that, and you shouldn't necessarily say that. Maybe you should go about it a different way, or maybe you should tell that person why you don't like the way that they're acting, or why you don't understand the way that they're acting. Don't necessarily go out and just call them whitewashed because you don't understand the things that they may understand, or you're not interested in the subjects that they're interested in. Fifth aspect that I had is the standard of blackness that must be attained or else. So basically, I feel like the people that call people whitewashed, there's like a standard of blackness that they believe that there is, and if you don't attain that standard of blackness, then automatically you're whitewashed, or automatically you don't belong to a certain group of people. I think that that's bullshit. I think that if you are black, you are allowed to live in your individuality. You belong to a group, but you're also an individual, and you can choose to do whatever the hell you want to do. You're allowed to be interested in debating. You're allowed to be interested in reading books. You're allowed to be interested in different things that not every black person is interested in, and that shouldn't warrant you being called whitewashed. My last point that I just wanted to talk about is how I feel about it. Honestly, although I made this video ranting about it because I I used to be really annoyed when people would say that, but at this point I'm okay with it because I really don't care, because at the end of the day I'm doing good. So even if you were to call me whitewashed, I don't see how that would affect me as a growing individual, because as I've said, that's the only thing that matters. If you're a good person and you like the way that you are, other people calling you names shouldn't affect the way that you're gonna progress in life. So that's basically what I wanted to say about being called a white girl or being called whitewashed. So yeah, that was basically my opinion video. So if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you guys have thoughts on the subject, just comment down below, and I will see you guys in my next video, and make sure to subscribe.